There you go, the up and down fortunes of Anthony Joshua. And I repeat, talkSPORT will broadcast Anthony Joshua's highly anticipated fight against Jermaine Franklin on April the 1st live from the O2 Arena. Joining me there on the night will be Adam Catterall, Andy Clark, our commentator, and of course the man with the studio in the studio with me tonight, Spencer the Omen Oliver. We heard the ups and downs there, Spencer, of the career of Anthony Joshua. You know him well. You're on the famous WhatsApp group that I always dig into.
I know you was going to start early.
Well, I'm going to start early and I'm going to go late tonight because I'm in the mood. Whoa. We're both on top form. The G-Dog and the Omen are going big tonight. Listen, this is a huge fight. We're going to hear from Jermaine Franklin shortly as well. I caught up with him yesterday. This is a huge fight for Anthony Joshua. Let's make no bones about it, and we're going to be there to witness every detail with perspicacity and meticulousness, because this is the crossroads fight of his career, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is a must-win fight for Anthony Joshua. Not just must win, but he must do it in style. He needs to make a statement in this one. You know, he's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. His last 4.
You could say 3 of his last 4 even.
With 3 of his last 4 then. Yeah, 3 of his last 4. But you know, this is he finds himself in a situation here where he was the top dog. Many considered him as the #1 heavyweight in the world. Tyson Fury now has taken that lead by quite some way, if I'm totally honest. And Anthony Joshua's lost a lot of ground. And you know, those 2 losses to Alexander Usyk back to back have been psychologically damaging for Anthony Joshua. They really have, and I think that's where the problem lies. It's not on the physical side of things. And to his credit, he's shown the hunger that he's still got. He's packed his bags, taken himself off to America, teamed up with Derek James, who's a renowned aggressive trainer, and he's trying to find that rawness that he once had that took him to that world heavyweight title, that great victory over Vitaly Klitschko that he had at Wembley Stadium, where
6 years ago.
Yeah, he had to pull himself off and I think that's where the damage was may have started with Anthony Joshua, that when he had to pull himself off the floor, pull himself round, in that memorable victory in that 11th round. That will go down in the heavyweight fights as one of the great fights. I mean, that for all the right reasons. But since then, really, we've not seen that Joshua again in the ring. You know,
it's funny you say that he's fallen below Tyson Fury. The argument as well is at the moment, until the optics change for him, until he does put a couple of performances together, that he's actually fallen behind Deontay Wilder and Joyce. And a lot of people rank Joshua at the moment as maybe around 4 in the world, even 5 if you place someone else above him, because there are others that could beat him in the division in the fragility that he's shown. Tell me, before we hear from Jermaine Franklin, have you heard anything on the WhatsApp group, or is he silent on the WhatsApp group at the moment? Is that a good sign? Is that a good sign? Absolutely. You know, he knows what he's got to do. He knows what he's got to rediscover. He knows exactly what he's got to do. You know, he's tried to... Is that what the symbolism of him chopping logs was the other day, that he's gone back to the old school? Absolutely. Old school, Rocky style. He needs that, you know, he needs to rediscover himself. He needs to find himself again. He needs to find that rawness, that fighting with his heart on his sleeve. That's what's going to take him to victory, and that's what's going to win him back a world heavyweight title. If he can't find that, if he can't rediscover that and overcome that psychological damage, he's got problems. No, now listen, Spence, 2 things I want to ask your opinion on here. First of all, when Franklin came to the UK last year and fought Dillian Whyte in November, I was there ringside that night, actually watching it. We weren't broadcasting that night, and he put on a performance that was arguably fair. There were people that believe he beat Dillian Whyte. I had Whyte winning by a round. It was a very, very close fight, and it was a pick-em in terms of the judging. He still believes he won that fight. He was 21-0 and 14 knockouts when he came into that fight. He believes he won that fight. So in his mind, he's 22-0. He didn't take that as a loss. He took it as a learn, and he was very combative with Dillian Whyte, and he was also very good in the exchanges. I think that performance against Dillian Whyte, and AJ was there ringside that night, there's a lot to be concerned about as well, and also that he's studying Andy Ruiz's performance against AJ.
Absolutely. You know, he was saying all the right things there, if I'm totally honest. He was talking about there, and the key thing he would mention there, he was talking about was, you know, he's saying that Anthony Joshua does like to engage, and what he was basically saying there
trade
was
with him.
punch when he punches.
Exactly.
That's what Andy Ruiz done.
Yep.
When Joshua went there, he had Andy Ruiz on the floor, you remember, in the third round, and Joshua went for it, and Ruiz punched with him. He caught Joshua, and what he will recognise is that Anthony Joshua, when a fighter gets beaten or he gets knocked out, they lose that aura of invincibility. People recognise, they recognise that they can be, they can win. They can, they can knock Anthony Joshua out. All they got to do is hit him. Jermaine Franklin was talking right there. Tactically, he was talking right. What he was saying there was punch when he punches. Wait for him to come inside and punch when he punches. Franklin's a tough guy, right? So a lot of people might not know Jermaine Franklin. He boxed Dillian Whyte. He boxed him on his own, and maybe never had the viewers that they would have got maybe if they was on like the Sky platform or whatever. It's like your hardcore boxing fans, really. And I think that he's maybe underestimated. He come with no credibility at all when he comes to this country, Jermaine Franklin. And
he wasn't given any.
He wasn't given any.
Look, he's had a win over Jerry Forrest. He had a win over Rydell Booker, who Fraser Clark's fighting next weekend. All right, Rydell is a grizzled veteran. When he beat Rydell was 25-1. I think he's 25-6 or 7 now. Yeah. Pavel Sauer was 11-1. Rodney Moore was a bit of a gimme. 20 wins, 21 losses. Obviously, the fight before Dillian Whyte. But like you said, he was unheralded. But after that performance, his stock rose. Absolutely. Left with a load of credibility. We know that actually he can fight. He doesn't mind sitting in the pocket. He can take a good shot. He absolutely. So they're all the things. And another key factor that goes in his favour is that he's a lot shorter than Anthony Joshua. He's like 6'1", 6'2". Joshua doesn't like fighting the smaller guys. No. So, it's a dangerous fight. It really is. It's high risk, low reward for Anthony Joshua because not many people know of Jermaine Franklin. But the ones that do know that Anthony Joshua's actually got a fight on his hands. Absolutely. And this isn't a big stadium fight for Anthony Joshua. It's a climb down. It's the first stage in the rebuilding process. Absolutely. Third trainer in 3 fights. Yep. So all of these new things. But I think he's never lost at the O2 Arena. I think it's 7-0 he is at the O2 Arena. Yep. It's a happy hunting ground. It's where he had his debut. Where he's had his debut. Yep. It's where he knocked out Charles Martin. Where he won the world title. You look back on those performances and he was flying. I believe sincerely that he will come out. And also, by the way, I have to say about Jermaine physically, he's shed probably about a stone and a half. He's probably looking about 220 now rather than 245. And he's going to be quick. He's got fast hands and he's got a dig. So I think Anthony Joshua needs to get behind that big booming jab and just enjoy himself and relax in there, in my view. Totally agree. He needs a 4 or 5 round knockout. The optics won't show well on him if it's a fight like Dillian Whyte had with Jermaine Franklin and he wins by 2 rounds or whatever. He needs to make a statement right now to get back into the highest echelons of this brilliant blue ribbon division. Absolutely. You said it there. You summed it up in a nutshell. That's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to go out there. He needs to stamp his authority, show us a little bit of the Anthony Joshua of old, stamp and go for it and get the job done and get it done inside the distance. If he can do that, make that statement, then people will give him a chance to go and regain that world heavyweight title for the 3rd time. Not many people do that, by the way.